I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, especially not after everything we've been through. Her name's Ashley, and honestly, we seemed like a solid team until I started noticing the little things. At first, it was small stuff. She'd be more dismissive when I asked about her day, cancel plans last minute, or suddenly be too busy at work. But I chalked it up to stress. She's always been a bitchy, demanding woman, quick to throw fits if things didn't go her way, so I figured maybe I was just imagining things or maybe she was just overwhelmed. Then came the bigger signs. Phone calls at odd hours, late-night texts she'd hide when I walked into the room, and her becoming hyper-aware of her phone, almost like she was trying to hide something. It was subtle, but I knew she was up to something. I'd ask her about it and she'd either brush me off with some bullshit excuse, it's just work, or it's my sister, or she'd get annoyed, snap at me, tell me I was paranoid. I hate that she always gaslights me like this as if I'm crazy for questioning her. What really got me thinking, though, was the sudden change in her behavior around my recovery. I had a stroke a few months ago and I was in a pretty fragile state. The doctors warned me I'd need a lot of help, and Ashley was supposed to be supportive. But she turned cold, more distant than ever. She'd spend hours away, sometimes out with friends, but never introduced me to anyone, never talked about where she was going. I was in a vulnerable place, and I guess I clinged to her because I was scared of losing everything, but she just kept pushing away, acting like I was a burden. The thing is, I was trying to piece together what was happening. I wanted to believe she loved me, but I couldn't ignore the gut feeling that she was hiding something. I started noticing more call logs, late-night texts I'd accidentally see when she left her phone on the table, messages that didn't make sense. Every time I tried to confront her, she'd either deny it outright or deflect with some bitchy remark, telling me I was jealous or stupid. I hated that she could be so cruel, even when I was vulnerable. One night I was sitting in the living room, exhausted from therapy, when I saw her phone light up on the table. I was trying to be cautious, but my hand trembled as I reached for it. I unlocked it after a quick glance at her face, her usual smirk like she knew she was getting away with something, and saw a message from some guy named Ryan. It was simple, but the tone made my stomach turn. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Need you so bad." That was the moment everything shifted. I stared at the screen, feeling every ounce of my trust evaporate. Ashley caught me looking and her eyes went wide for a second, then that bitchy smile came back. She tried to brush it off, told me I was imagining things, that Ryan was just a coworker, that I was overthinking. But I knew better. I'd seen the truth in her eyes and it hit me like a freight train. She was cheating on me. It wasn't just the message. It was the way she flinched, how defensive she got when I pressed her about Ryan. I could see the lies slipping out, her voice turning sharper, her words more dismissive. I was devastated but furious. How could she do this, after everything? The woman who was supposed to love me, support me through my recovery, was out there screwing some guy, lying through her teeth. I felt a mix of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak all at once. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew this wasn't going to be easy. Ashley's a manipulator, and once she gets caught, she fights dirty. I sat there, feeling the weight of it all crush me, feeling stupid for trusting her, feeling angry for her betrayal, feeling lost in a mess I didn't see coming. I didn't sleep that night, my mind racing with what I'd do next. I knew I had to face her, but I wasn't sure what words to use, or even if I wanted to hear her excuses. I just knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay anymore. The next day, I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I waited until she got home from whatever she was doing, probably screwing around. I wasn't stupid anymore. And then I called her out the second she stepped through the door. She looked surprised, annoyed even. Like I was ruining her day just by existing. I kept my voice steady, but inside I was burning up with rage. "Who is Ryan Ashley?" I asked, holding her gaze. Her eyes flickered and she tried to brush past me, but I blocked her way. "You've been lying to me. I saw the messages. Tell me the truth." She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "God, you're so damn paranoid. I don't know what you're talking about. Ryan is just a coworker, nothing more." She tried to act like I was overreacting, like I was stupid for even suspecting her. That fake-ass smile she always put on when she was lying was there, but I saw through it. "No," I said, voice low but firm. "You're cheating, I know it. I've seen the messages, the late nights, the way you act around him. You've been lying to my face for weeks." She snapped, her bitchy attitude coming out in full force. "Oh, please, you're just jealous. You're insecure because of your stroke. Maybe if you weren't so helpless, I wouldn't need to find someone else to talk to." That kind of bullshit makes me sick. She's always been a master at twisting things around, making herself the victim, even when she's the one doing wrong. I lost it then. The combination of betrayal and frustration exploded inside me. "Stop with the excuses, Ashley. I'm not stupid. I saw the fucking messages. I know you've been screwing around. How long has this been going on?" She crossed her arms, looking like she had all the power. "It's none of your damn business. I don't have to explain myself to you. You're lucky I even stayed with you after your stroke. Maybe if you weren't so dependent, I'd get some respect." I couldn't take her bullshit anymore. I told her to get out of my house. I told her I didn't want to see her face again until she was honest and took responsibility. Her reply: she called me a jealous, insecure fool, told me I was imagining things, and that I was just bitter because I was sick. The words cut deeper than anything. I'd been through hell trying to recover, and here she was, throwing it in my face like I was some burden. That night, I sat alone, staring at the wall, feeling numb. I kept replaying everything, her words, her face, the lies. I was heartbroken, angry, and confused. I'd always thought we had a good thing. Or at least I thought I knew her. Turns out I was just fooling myself. My trust was shattered, and I had no idea how to move forward. I felt like I was drowning in betrayal, and all I could do was sit there and wonder how she could be so cruel, so selfish. But I also knew I couldn't keep lying to myself. She was a liar, a cheat, and a manipulator. I was done believing her excuses. From that moment, everything changed. I knew I had to decide whether I wanted to fight for what was left of us or just let her go. The pain was overwhelming, but I had to face it. I had to find a way to heal, not just physically, but mentally. And that's when I started thinking about revenge, about making her feel the kind of pain she'd inflicted on me, without crossing lines I couldn't come back from. I didn't want her to see me broken, but I also didn't want her to think she'd won. I was going to come up with a plan, something that would hit her where it hurt, make her regret ever messing with me. That's how my mind started turning, even as the ache in my chest refused to go away. I knew I'd have to be clever, patient. I had to outsmart her because she was a liar, and I couldn't trust her again, not after she'd betrayed me like this. In the days that followed, I found myself spiraling into a mix of anger and clarity. I couldn't just sit around and stew. I needed to do something, something that would make her regret what she did, something that would give me some sense of justice. I started to think back over everything I knew about her, every lie, every manipulation, and I realized I had to be smart about this. Ashley wasn't a fool. She was good at hiding her tracks, but I knew her weaknesses. I had to play this differently, outsmart her, not just lash out in blind rage. I began quietly gathering evidence. Not just the messages, but everything. Her bank statements, her social media activity, her schedule. I knew she'd try to cover her tracks, so I set up some discreet surveillance, nothing obvious, just enough to catch her in the act if she slipped up. I also contacted Ryan, not to confront him, but to learn more, see if I could find anything that would help expose her. Turns out, Ryan was just as much a liar as Ashley. He was married, and he'd been sneaking around with her for weeks. That was a small win. I wasn't just some jealous fool. I was someone she'd been cheating with someone else's wife. Meanwhile, I started thinking about how to confront her again. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that I was not going to be played anymore. I also wanted to hit her where it hurt, her pride, her lies, her manipulations. So I decided I'd set a trap. I carefully crafted a scenario where she'd be caught in her own web of lies. I knew she liked to lie her way out of situations, so I made sure I was prepared. I arranged for her to find some evidence of her affair, an email, a text, some proof that would make her realize I wasn't bluffing. One evening, I left my phone open on the table with a message I knew she'd see. It was from Ryan, talking dirty about how much he couldn't wait to see her again and how she made him feel alive, stuff that would make her panic. I wanted her to realize I had seen everything. I could see her eyes widen when she found it, her face flushing with anger and panic. She tried to deny it again, but I just looked at her and said, "Tell me the truth now, Ashley. I already know. You've been fucking Ryan, haven't you?" Her reaction was priceless. Her mouth opened, then shut, then she started to yell, calling me crazy, accusing me of spying, of making things up. But I had the evidence and I made sure she knew it. I told her I wasn't going to let her destroy what we had, not anymore. I was done with her lies. Her bitchy attitude only intensified, but I was cold now. I told her she needed to leave or I'd call the cops. She spat at me, called me a jealous loser, a cripple who couldn't do anything right. That was fine, I didn't care anymore. I'd won the battle of truth, even if I hadn't won the war yet. That night she stormed out, but not before throwing more accusations at me, that I was controlling, that I was insecure, that I was just jealous because I was sick. But I didn't care. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. She'd been caught and I'd finally taken control. I knew I wasn't going to fix this mess overnight, but I felt a flicker of power. I had the evidence and I had the truth. I was broken, yes. But I was also determined. I knew I had to plan my next move carefully, whether to fight for my marriage or walk away. But one thing was clear. I wasn't the fool she thought I was. The woman who had once pretended to love me now showed her true colors, and I was done being the victim. I was ready to take back my life, whatever that looked like now. Over the next few days, I stayed silent, watching her from a distance, gathering my thoughts and making plans. Every time I saw her face, I felt a surge of anger mixed with heartbreak. But I also knew that I couldn't let her see how much she'd broken me. If I was going to do something about this, I had to be smart, calculated. I couldn't afford to make mistakes or show weakness. I also realized I needed to cut her off completely, at least for a while. No more calls, no more texts, no more trying to get her to talk. If she thought I was just going to roll over and accept her lies, she was dead wrong. I started thinking about what I wanted in the long run. I didn't want a cheating wife, not anymore. I wanted to know what kind of person she really was, whether she was capable of remorse or if she'd just lie her way out of everything. But I also knew I couldn't just dump her and walk away cold turkey. I needed leverage, something that would make her realize I was serious. So I contacted a private investigator, a guy I found through some discreet channels. I told him to follow her, document her activities, and find out if she was seeing Ryan or anyone else. I wanted the truth, all of it, no matter how ugly. I also asked him to dig into her financials, her social media, anything that could help me understand her motives better. While I waited for his report, I started to reflect on what this betrayal meant for me. Honestly, I felt humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. Here I was, recovering from a stroke, vulnerable and trying to hold onto what little dignity I had left, and she was out there screwing around behind my back. It made me question everything, my worth, my judgment, whether I'd ever be enough again. The pain was sharp, but underneath it, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I had to confront her again, this time with undeniable proof. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I had nothing left to lose. I was preparing to lay everything out on the table, to strip her of her lies and manipulations and force her to face what she'd done. I still didn't know if I'd file for divorce or try to fix what was broken, but I knew I had to make her see that I was done being her fool. I was tired of her bitchy attitude, her lies, her betrayal. I deserved better. My mind kept circling back to the moment I found her phone, how my gut instinct had been right all along. That feeling of betrayal still haunted me, but now it fueled my resolve. I couldn't undo what had happened, but I could control what came next. Whatever the outcome, I was determined to reclaim some dignity and find out who I really was after all this. I owed myself that much. And if Ashley thought she could just lie and manipulate her way out of this, she was in for a rude awakening. A few days passed, and I finally got the report from the private investigator. Honestly, it was worse than I expected. Ashley hadn't just been messing around with Ryan. She was seeing him regularly, multiple times a week. They had secret meetings, late-night rendezvous at her place, and even at hotels. The guy was a complete sleazeball, married himself, and I learned he'd been lying about his own relationship just like she lied about hers. It was a mess, and I felt the full weight of betrayal crashing down on me again. Reading that report was like a punch in the stomach. I'd always trusted her, believed in her, even when she was bitchy and manipulative. But now I saw her for what she really was, a liar, a cheat, someone who didn't care about me at all. Seeing the evidence laid out in black and white made my stomach turn, but it also gave me clarity. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. She'd been pretending to love me while sneaking around behind my back. I decided I needed to confront her one last time, this time with everything laid bare. I waited until she came home from her latest meeting and I set everything up. I had her phone, her laptop, the printed evidence, and a calm but firm attitude. When she walked in, I didn't waste time with pointless accusations. I just sat her down and forced her to listen. "What's this, Ashley?" I asked, holding up the printouts of her messages with Ryan. Her face went pale for a split second, then she tried to brush past me, acting like it was no big deal. I blocked her again, feeling that old anger boil inside. "Tell me why you've been lying, why you've been screwing around behind my back." She looked furious, her bitchy attitude turning into a sneer. "You're crazy, you're delusional, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but I'm done with your accusations. You're just jealous because I don't want to be stuck with some cripple who can't even walk properly anymore." That was the final straw. I was shaking with rage by then, but I kept my voice steady. "No, Ashley, you're the one who's delusional. You've been cheating on me, lying to my face and pretending you care. Well, I've had enough. I saw everything, every message, every secret meeting, every lie, and I don't want you in my life anymore." Her face twisted in anger and she spat out, "You think you're so smart, huh? You're just a weak, helpless cripple. You can't do anything about this. I'm the one who's winning here." That's when I knew I had to make a decision. I told her to pack her things and leave. I was done with her manipulations, her bitchy attitude, her lies. If she thought she could walk all over me, she was dead wrong. I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I was tired of feeling like a victim, tired of being betrayed by the woman I loved. She stormed out, screaming and calling me all sorts of names: jealous, insecure, broken, useless. I let her go, knowing that I'd finally taken control. For the first time since I got sick, I felt a small sense of empowerment. I had the proof, I had the truth, and I had drawn a line in the sand. As she slammed the door behind her, I sat down and stared at the evidence: the messages, the hotel receipts, the photos she had taken during her secret meetings. I was angry, yes, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I had finally faced the reality of what she was. I was broken, but I was not defeated. I wasn't going to let her ruin me completely. That night, I realized I had a choice. I could keep dwelling in the pain and betrayal, or I could start rebuilding my life on my own terms. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew I deserved better than her lies and manipulations. I had to focus on healing, not just physically, but emotionally. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find some peace again. In the days that followed, I found myself oscillating between relief and a deep, aching sadness I couldn't shake. The betrayal cut so deep, it felt like my heart was carved out and left to bleed. I thought about all the times I trusted her, all the moments I believed she loved me, even through her bitchy, manipulative facade. Now I saw her for what she truly was: someone who used me, who lied and cheated behind my back while I was vulnerable and trying to get better. I decided that I needed to focus on myself. The injury from my stroke had already challenged me enough, and now this, her betrayal, made me realize I had to prioritize my own healing, my own growth. I started therapy not just for my physical recovery but for my mental health. I learned to accept that some people just aren't worth the pain they cause. Ashley was one of those people. I won't lie. There were nights I lay awake, replaying everything, feeling bitter and angry. The image of her sneering at me, lying through her teeth, haunted me sometimes. But I also knew I had to let go. Holding on to that anger wasn't helping me, it was drowning me. So I decided to channel that energy into rebuilding my life, strengthening myself, pushing past the hurt, and figuring out what I really wanted from this point forward. I filed for divorce. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I wanted her out of my life entirely. I wanted to be free of her manipulations and lies. I also started focusing on my recovery, on reconnecting with friends and family I distanced myself from during her chaos. I realized I'd lost a lot of time, but I wasn't going to let her betrayal define me. I was going to come out of this stronger. Looking back, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that trust isn't something to take lightly, and that some people will betray you no matter how much you want to believe in them. I learned that even when you're at your most vulnerable, you have to stand your ground. And most importantly, I learned that I am capable of surviving betrayal, of rebuilding after it, and of finding peace again, even if it takes time. If I could give advice to anyone reading this, either going through something similar or worried, about betrayal, it's this: don't ignore the signs. Trust your instincts. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't let anyone strip you of your dignity or manipulate you into questioning your worth. And no matter how shattered you feel, remember, healing is possible. You might be broken, but you're not defeated. You can pick yourself up, carry on, and find happiness again on your own terms.